All right, now we're going to come back and work our cuff. Now I chose to do this with a provisional stitch just because that cuff is so soft and a little bit floppy, and it's, you know, fur, which is absolutely beautiful, but I didn't really want it in my way, so as I was like working down the stocking with a lot of purl and knit stitches. So if you did not do a provisional cast on, that's okay, no worries, because you can simply pick up 60 stitches around the top. But to note, I am doing this with a smaller needle size. This is a size 5, 3.75 needle. We're going down a size because this top cuff, we kind of want to have it be a bit more, I don't want to say the word stiff because it's not exactly stiff, but we want to work our cuff with a smaller size needle so it's not too big and floppy. It kind of holds that shape. Now here's the cool thing about the provisional cast on. All these stitches are live. We did some chains because this is still holding it, but once we pull this, you can see these chains come undone. That means the more you pull this, your stitches will be free and live. So I want to show you on this first stitch, if you can see this, as I pull this, there's a live stitch. So we don't want to drop that stitch. We want to make sure to put that on our needle. We're putting our stitches back on our needles. But if you're a little bit nervous to have them sitting there, you can always pick them up before pulling that cast on strand. So as you can see, it's really, this is why I do love the provisional cast on. It's a way for you to come back and work something later. It can be nice for grafting things together. And it's really easy to put these stitches right back onto your needles. So simply work around undoing that provisional cast on, or just pick up 60 stitches around the top if you used a different cast on method. And then we will get ready to knit our fur. All right, now that we've got all of our stitches back onto our needles, what is left is quite simple. We're going to take this beautiful fluffy, oh my gosh, I love the fluffy fur yarn. It's just so squishy. I really do want to kind of put googly eyes on this guy and make him a pet. I've been rolling it into the balls, and even my son was like, can I just have this? And I was like, maybe later when I have some left over. It's just so cute. So to do the cuff, it is going to be simple knit stitches. So you're going to knit in every stitch around using that fur yarn, and we are on those smaller needles. And we are going to do this until our cuff reaches 7 inches tall. So this is when we want to use our tape measure. That way we don't have to count rounds. And to be quite honest, normally I would give you a pretty good round count, but I don't think it's going to be that helpful since it's kind of hard to see your rounds. I think for this, it is best to measure the length of your cuff versus attempting to count rounds and driving yourself crazy. So once you have worked this until it's 7 inches, and I actually have the red one still as an example. Once you have your cuff, we will want to bind off. So this is approximately 7 inches long and super squishy soft. And now I will bind off these cuff stitches. This is just going to be your traditional bind off where we will knit and pass the first knit stitch over. And the nice thing about this yarn is like we're really not going to see any mistakes. I will have you know, I did drop a stitch at one point when I was doing this, and you know, I'm not even quite sure if I picked it up right, but you also cannot tell exactly where I dropped it or how I picked it up because it's so squishy and furry. So it is very forgiving if you do happen to drop a stitch. Don't panic. At first I was like, oh, how am I ever going to find that stitch back the right way? I mean, you can't even tell. I just picked that stitch right back up as best I could and kept going. And so when we're binding off this, you know, just a traditional bind off will do. We don't need to do anything fancy because we're letting the yarn just be furry and fuzzy all on its own. So keep working a bind off all the way around, and then I'll show you what it looks like folded over. All right, so now that I have bind off that last stitch, I'll go ahead and cut my yarn, and I would weave this in And then this is so cute. I'll fold this over for the top of the stocking. I love it. I love that fur texture on the top. It's so nice. It's so cozy. And I also think this could use and benefit from some pom-poms. I think it'd be really cute. So we still have our tab, which we will be doing and attaching, and then I want to do some cute pom-poms. So we are almost there. Now for the tab, we will be using our main color of yarn, and we will be casting onto our smaller needles, so the US size 5, the 3.75, and we are going to cast on 6 stitches. It really doesn't matter what cast on method you use here. I'm using the long tail cast on method. I will link that in the blog post. And I just need 6 stitches. Now for this tab, we're simply just making a loop so that we can hang our stocking. And this will be attached kind of to the inside of the cuff. So for this, we will simply be working 30 rows in the stockinette. So we will purl on the wrong side and knit on the right side, and we will continue that for 30 rows until we just build a nice tab so that we can hang our stocking from wherever we want to display it. Now we are on to the final details. We want to do this tab, and I'm going to show you how to attach that. And then also, if you want, I love the little pom-poms. Now for these, sometimes I will use a pom-pom maker, and it will be like a ball and it's really fluffy. But for this fur yarn, because it can shed a lot, I really enjoyed working up a circle. So this is a knit circle, and I'm also going to show you how to create that and then attach it to your stocking. So let's get started with that knit circle. For this knit circle, I'm actually going to be showing you instructions using the cream yarn. The reason being is I could show you in the fur, but it is really difficult to see the stitches. It's not difficult to work in the fur, I found, because I can tell where the stitches are, and I think you will be able to too on your needle. But for a video, there's a lot of fuzz going on, and I think it will be more clear if I show you how to do it in this regular yarn. So feel free to grab your fur yarn, and we're going to make these for the pom-poms. To start, cast on 6 stitches. I am using the long tail cast on again, but the cast on method can be really what you prefer. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. We just need to cast on 6 stitches. And yes, we will be working in the round. So for the magic loop, I'm going to split those 6 stitches in half and have half of the stitches on the front of my needles and half on the back. So I have 6 in the front, 6 in the back. To work the next round, I will be increasing every single stitch. So I will work into the front and then into the back of every stitch around. So I will knit into the front, and without taking it off my needle, I will knit into the back, increasing by 1, and then take it off the left needle. So I will repeat that around, knitting in the front and the back of each of the 6 stitches, and our stitch count after this round will be 12. And yes, I can probably switch to shorter cords on this because I really don't need as long of a cord anymore. So if you have shorter cords around, feel free to switch this out to be shorter. I guess I'm just going to struggle with it a little bit since I'm not sure where my case is for my needles right now. So I'm still knitting in the front and the back of every stitch around. Maybe. I might need more coffee this morning. All right, so now that I have increased to 12 stitches, we are going to knit 1 round, just knitting in each stitch around. So a lot of this, making this ball, this sphere, we will be increasing around and then just simply knitting around. So we'll knit the 12 stitches around. Now for this next round, we will be increasing into the first stitch, knitting in the front and the back, and then we knit 1. And we will repeat that all the way around, where we knit in the front and the back, and then we knit 1. This will increase our stitches from 12 to 18. And we repeat knitting in the front and the back, knit 1 all the way around. And then for our next round after this increased round, is simply to do another round of knit. Right, now for our next round, it will once again be an increasing round. And this is where I will knit in the front and the back of the first stitch, and then knit 2. And I will repeat those steps all the way around, knitting in the front and the back of the stitch and knit 2. This will increase from 18 stitches to 24 stitches. And then the round right after this round is to just simply knit around. After knitting in the round for the 24 stitches, just doing a plain round of knit, now we will increase one more time, and this time we will knit in the front and the back again on that first stitch. And now we are going to knit 3. And we will repeat those steps all the way around, where we knit in the front and the back and then knit 3. This will increase our stitches from 24 to 30. And this will be the last time we increase on this size of circle. But if you want a bigger ball, you can continue in this manner to increase by 6 every other round until you get to the size of ball that you would like to complete. Now that we have increased to 30 stitches, we are at the center of the ball, the size that we're going to make, and we are going to knit for 3 rounds. So knit those 30 stitches for 3 rounds and then come on back. Now that we have knit for 3 rounds, we are ready to start decreasing. And if you were to make your circle bigger, just be sure when you get to the center, after you're done increasing, you do 3 plain rounds of knit. So now we will be working our circle back down, so it will require us to decrease. So we will knit 2 together and knit 3. And we will repeat this all the way around by knitting 2 together and then knit 3. After doing a round of decreases, we will simply knit 1 round of knit stitches. And now we will decrease again by knitting 2 together and then knit 2. We'll repeat that step around. We will knit 2 together and then knit 2. This will decrease from 24 stitches to 18. And of course, in between our decrease round, we will be knitting 1 round without decreasing. And now after knitting 1 round, we will decrease again, and this time we will knit 2 together and then knit 1. And that's our repeat around for this. Knit 2 together, knit 1. And pretty soon here after this round, we will be starting to either stuff our ball with some fiber fill stuffing, or you can also use a yarn scrap. I'm going to show you what I did for the fur ones to help them hold a decent shape. All right, now that we are decreasing, before we get any closer to finishing the circle, we will want to either use fiber fill stuffing or yarn scraps to shape the inside of our ball because we don't want it flat. We want it to look like a sphere. And for these fur ones, I decided, since I have plenty of this yarn to work with, that I would just simply roll a yarn ball and stick it inside. I feel like it helps it hold its shape, and it still is pretty lightweight. I don't really roll this ball too tight, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just going inside. So now I will simply take yarn scraps or fiber fill or whatever you're working with and just pop it inside of your sphere. The needles are kind of loud there. So I simply shove that inside, and now we still need to do 1 round of knit. So we will work these 12 stitches by just knitting them. And now we are ready for our last round of decreasing. We will simply knit 2 together in every stitch around, and this decreases from 12 to 6 stitches. To take these stitches off, we are simply going to slip our needle through the stitches, all 6 of them, and then we will simply pull this opening closed. So let me get my needles out of here, these noisy needles. I think I might choose different needles for on camera next time. These are quite loud. And slip off the remaining. So now I have all 6 stitches onto my tapestry needle, and I will simply pull that tight and then weave in my ends. And same thing with the beginning, you still have a little bit of a hole here, so you'll take your beginning strand and weave in the ends, also looping through and pulling that beginning spot tight because we don't want any holes. And then this is your sphere, your ball, and it looks really cute in this furry yarn too. And so now we will place these onto our stocking. For the stocking, we will fold the top of our fur down, like just simply fold it in half, and then we will obviously need a tab because how else will we hang our beautiful stocking as a decor piece, either over the fireplace or even just, as I do apparently, on the walls. So take your tab, and I like to tack it together. You actually don't need both ends here. Your beginning strand, you could just weave it in. I've got mine hanging out here because I haven't done that yet, but I like to tack this tab together just so I don't have to worry about it once I put it in the stocking. Just fold it in half and put a few stitches into the bottom. So now we've got this loop, and we will simply place that loop on our heel side because we do want it to be on our heel side right inside our stocking. So right inside that fur. This will help tack down the fur cuff as folded in half, and also it will be easy to hang. Now, here's the cool thing about this fur yarn. It does not show stitches. I love when things can hide any indiscrepancies. So it's really easy to, see, you can't even see. It's really easy to put this tab on here because you don't have to be so precise. A lot of times I'll be more careful than I'm being right now when I go to sew something on so you don't see my stitches and it looks really clean. But with this, look at that. It hides those. So you can really tack down wherever you want, just sewing back and forth through your tab, through the side of your stocking, and that way your tab is attached and it is ready to hang. And then you'll simply weave in your ends. Now with this stocking, sometimes I feel like this, because this is so soft, this might slip up on this left side as it's hanging. So if you would like, and I did this to my other stocking, I simply took a small strand of my fur yarn and I tacked this fur in place folded. That way it just always stays where it's supposed to stay and it's not going to unfold on you. Then in order to do the nice balls, you can either use a tapestry needle to braid something and then attach to these. My favorite method is to use a crochet hook. My favorite method to use in order to attach these is just a simple crochet chain. And so I just grabbed a crochet hook. I think that this is a G size, a G plus, but an H or really any size will work, because as long as your chain is, as long as you don't use too big of a crochet hook, your chain will look nice. So I'm going to start with a slip knot on my hook. However, we kind of have a bonus here with these fur balls because they hide everything. I'm going to stick my crochet hook through the top of this fur ball, yarn over, pull that through, and then pull through the loop on the hook. And that has tightened that down. Like, this is going nowhere. This is staying connected to the strand. I'll weave in this beginning tail into the ball, but I can continue on by doing chain stitches for about 10 inches. And this can also be whatever length you desire, because on a different stocking I did it this way. I ended up tying my chain into a bow when I attached it to my stocking, but there's a couple ways that you can attach this. I'm just going to show you one way. And the nice thing is, as you're doing your chains, you can always hold it up to your stocking to see like about how long you want it to come down for. I think I actually did chain probably more like, let me see, probably more like 14 inches, so that I had about 7 inches to hang down on each side, because we're also going to have a knot in there. So we want to account for that. But it's really whatever look you like and how far down you want these details to sit, the little fur balls. All right, so I'm okay with that. So now I'm going to go to my other fur stocking, and we're going to do the same thing where I'm going to insert my hook through part of that stocking, yarn over on my hook and pull through the stocking and the loop on the hook, and then tighten that down pretty tight. And I would say for this side, go ahead and chain one more and then go ahead and fasten off. Now I'm going to I would take my needle and I would weave in these ends. And what's really cool about this fur, once again, is it hides everything. So we can just have a lot of fun here, not worry about things being seen. I just went straight through the ball a couple times because you're not going to see that. And that way it hides the end and keeps those securely on that strand. And I'll weave in this one later. I just want to show you really quick how to attach it. So with my red one, I actually ended up putting my chain through the loop before attaching to the circle so that it was locked in place. It's a decent look, but I also think doing it this way could be nice too, using a lark heads knot. So I will fold my chain in half and I will stick it through my tab. And then I'm simply going to place each ball through that opening, and then this tightens down. And these aren't going to go anywhere. These are going to be stuck to your stocking and be super cute. I've got to get this end weaved in because it's driving me nuts and I want to see this stocking completed and beautiful. I'm really excited. I hope you're excited about these. They're a beautiful traditional look for the holiday season. And there we are. There is our completed stocking. I will still go ahead and block this because I feel like blocking really helps open up those purl and knit stitches so that you can see all those details. But it is just a beautiful traditional stocking. I really like how it came out, and I hope you did too. And I hope you had fun enjoying different textured sections, but still using those simple stitches. And this is definitely going to be hung in my home for years to come, or I might even give them away as a gift for someone else's home. Thank you so much for joining me for this project, and I hope you join me again soon.